No, I don't recommend it, but yeah, sure, let's talk about it. Alright, first we look at Noppies. Now, for someone like me, who has Noppy at EX plus 3, plus an extra copy of Noppy because I don't know why she keeps appearing, please help, this banner is a very bad deal. Had this banner been attached to a unit I don't have, then it would be much more appealing. With that in mind, if you're someone who doesn't have Noppy, then this wouldn't be too bad a deal. Is what I would have said if this wasn't shown alongside Tsukiko and Final Fantasy X-2. But let's say, maybe you already spent what you wanted, and don't want to save because I don't understand you. Then, if that's the case, you weirdo, you'll be able to get Noppy, enough fragments for a Brave Shift, plus another 50 fragments for waiting, a Neo Vision which may or may not be good, and the Intrinsic ability exchange ticket. And of course you might get some other stuff too. Regardless, let's talk about Noppy. At the moment, she is not very strong compared to Neo units, and would desperately need her Intrinsic ability. So let's go to the shop, exchange shop, and it's not here. Oh right, it's a permanent thing. Okay, here we go. Noppy's Intrinsic ability is the only one in the shop, and while the developers did say they plan to add more, there's really no sense in getting a ticket now and saving unless you're thinking they'll raise the price of these in the future. I mean, I guess that might be possible, given vision cards and other tickets are a bit more expensive when they're tied to a Neo banner, but on the other hand, Intrinsic abilities are designed to be buffs for one specific ode unit, and not everyone else. Yeah, like I said, I don't recommend this. Anyways, Noppy's Intrinsic ability is certainly powerful. Equipping this onto her will give her a massive HP and attack boost, the other half to the chainlayer cap she's missing, a percentage attack boost, a damage modifier boost to Koopa Barrage, her main source of damage, and 2 potent killers. Right off the bat, the stat boosts and killers are excellent, and while the modifier buff seems rather weak, you have to remember that Koopa Barrage is scripted to hit 3 separate times, thereby tripling the modifier buff. But even adding 300 to this doesn't look that good. So let's take Noppy's own original modifier buffs into account, add 300 to that, and then multiply that to take her triple cast, and we get... that's not super amazing. But once you take her additional stats into account, it's much better, letting her climb onto the side of the robot and slicing its stupid head off! Yeah! So yeah, likely weaker than Woke in most builds, but being second to a premium unit is definitely a huge improvement for Noppy. Oh yeah, here's her best modifier in Clash of Wills, and the leap is pretty significant there. She doesn't quite crack the top 5 because it's full of monsters, but she's knocking at the door. But unfortunately, despite Noppy making incredible strides in her damage, her Intrinsic ability doesn't address her greatest flaw of all, Stardust Ray. Alas, she still has to wait for her friend skilled in the ancient technique passed down from one reign to another, lost when he suddenly abandoned it and got on the Boating Strike Chain. Perhaps one day Noppy will find a true companion, but until then, yeah, I'd rather keep my 12,000 lapis. Now let's take a look at Melia's Intrinsic ability. So it's not here. We have to go to Go Shop, so that's Coin Exchange, and... it's not here. Okay, oh, here it is. So, 30,000 gil is honestly nothing, so I'll buy that, and now to craft it. Where is the crafting menu? No, what? Items? Oh, here it is, okay. Okay, here we go. 3 Master Crowns, and you can craft multiple copies. Yes, I think I will make 5 potentials for Melia. Now, 3 Master Crowns. That's a pretty decent price. Certainly not cheap, but I get the idea. Let's see if it's worth it though. Melia's potential will give her a better magic cover, increasing the overall range by 5%. It will also give your team a 75% general mitigation buff, a 10,000 HP barrier that scales with morale, going up to 20,000, a permanent triple cast, and fills the morale gauge. These values are pretty good too. The cover values are now on the higher end, there aren't many magic tanks of a better mitigation buff, even less of good uptime, and the HP barrier is also pretty strong too. The permanent triple cast helps her issue of being slow, and the morale is always nice to get. But if there's really one big flaw, it's, this. It's a small gap in uptime, but it's a major reason why Celes is held back, and certainly affects Melia to a lesser degree. Now, Melia does have a good set of active abilities, and the things that were surpassed have received updated versions, but the things she's missing are still missing. A lack of automatic cover, on-demand magic mitigation, and Chao has such a fun counter-attack, oh my gosh. Notably though, with the new units we've gotten since her initial release, there are several that can supplement what she's lacking. Interestingly enough, Sylvie works really well in tandem with Melia, and the things Melia's potential improves on further increases Melia's own viability to be a solid partner. It's a pretty good addition, but is it worth 3 crowns? This actually depends on your current tank and what you've got. Like, personally, I've got Chao, and while there are certainly toss-ups between the two, I'd stick with Chao not just because of those 2 things, but also because I've got units that can provide stronger buffs if needed. This might change because Melia's intrinsic ability is pretty powerful, but the fight will have to be pretty brutal. Had this intrinsic ability also increased her stats and passives, then it'd likely be an easy decision, but for the time being, there's no need for me to spend crowns. Okay, who else got buffs? Tulien is definitely stronger. He went from the best Earthbreaker to the best Earthbreaker. His defense break went 1% to still not 90, and his damage is weaker than Noppy. But definitely better. Who knew kneecaps had the potential? And Rikku. It's finally the proper modifier for a physical damage dealer. The HP barrier is one of the largest I've seen, and if you give her crowns you can raise her attack to supplement those modifier buffs, making her into a good damage dealer. Despite getting better abilities, stats, modifier buffs, and another strong EX plus 3 killer, her best abilities are still nevertheless niche, and I do have to question why you're bringing Rikku. Well, at least now you have a better reason, and I guess she can supplement Melia's buffs. Ultimately, there's a lot of cool things, but you have to go the extra mile for the really cool things. And, upon closer inspection, they're not that cool. Please make Rise her intrinsic ability good.